Welcome to The Lady Killers, a feminine rage podcast. Hello, and welcome to The Lady Killers, a feminine rage podcast. I am your host, Jennifer's Body Adams, and I watch a lot of really scary shit right now, all the time. I'm often known to ask if anybody dies in a movie when someone recommends it to me because I love horror movies. But when I was a kid, I was super afraid of a lot of stuff. I was a real big weenie. I liked Stephen King. Of course, because I could read it, and stuff that I read typically doesn't scare me. But I was terrified to watch Halloween and Friday the 13th because Michael and Jason and Freddy really scared me,
Understandable.
Yeah. And it took me a long time. It was really Scream when I was like, okay, maybe there's more to horror, and of course, I grew up reading and watching Stephen King too, but that just kind of feels there's a warmth,
different,
Yep. For more of my thoughts on Stephen King, check out the Losers Club podcast. The reason I bring it up is because there are certain movies that I remember being terrified of from my childhood, like watching the trailer and being like, nope, that is way too scary. And one of those movies is the movie that we are covering today, which is The People Under the Stairs, written and directed by Wes Craven. I was terrified of this movie, and I was like, nope, no, never going to watch it.
I had no idea.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Amazing.
And then lo and behold, I watched it as an adult, and I was like, okay, that's not what I thought it was going to be.
You survived. You made it.
I did. I survived it. Yes. So, yes, I have Wes Craven to thank for many things in my life. So, yes, that's what we're covering today, The People Under the Stairs. It's part of our ongoing Eat the Rich month, which I'm just having so much fun with. It's like my soapbox is just staying out,
It's feeling very cathartic. I know it sounds like very trivial, but it's just like a little thing that's like, I'm having a lot of fun talking about these movies for sure.
Me too. Yeah, and you know what? Couldn't be a better time, I think. Well, I'm not alone. You've heard their voices. I'm joined by a community of fabulous lady killer experts. Shelby, say hello and tell us what movie scared you as a kid.
Hello. I was going to make a joke about my tongue being cut out, but then I was like, I don't know how I would make that.
You would go.
And I was going to make the sound, but then I was like, nope.
I almost just did it. And I was like,
yeah. And I was like, some people are still just listeners, not watchers. And I can't imagine that during your morning commute. Hello, good morning. I was with you, Jen. I was really scared. I have vivid memories of a certain Halloween night where I was convinced either Jason or Michael was going to come into my window and murder me. I went through a phase where I was just so afraid of being stabbed to death by a masked killer. But I loved horror movies and I kept watching them. But one that I do remember scaring the shit out of me when I was a kid was Ernest Scared Stupid. It was it scared me so bad. I was so scared.
Yes. Man. Also, I fucking hate the entire Ernest universe. I know that is a hot take. Yes. I
didn't know that.
Yes.
Why? Know what I mean, Vern?
Yeah. I know. I think it's a little bit of my Southern self-loathing. I might feel a little bit too called out because I know so many people that love those movies. They're probably better than I remember. But you know what it is? It's those fucking eggs erroneous in Ernest Goes to Camp. They are so disgusting, and it almost ruined scrambled eggs for me. And
part of the reason Ernest Scared Stupid scared me was because it grossed me out so much. There's a part where he kisses the troll, and it's so gooey. And there was it's my little kid brain couldn't differentiate being grossed out and scared. So it was
there you go,
uncomfortable, and I don't like it. And I remember that movie really scaring me when.
I wonder if that was maybe one of the things that I didn't like either. I was too gross because my spit thing. I can't handle it. And also,
and it looked like spit. So
yes, it's so gross. And also, listeners, this is a me thing. I'm sure it's an irrational reaction.
Jim Varney's going to come haunt you.
And I've heard Jim Varney is great, and he's just a cool, nice guy. I think he might be dead though.
He's dead.
Yeah. I only ever heard good things about him. I think I kind of grew up sensitive to portrayals of stupid Southern people.
Fair. That's fair.
That is fair. That is fair.
So apology. I didn't mean to shit on your childhood
it
drama.
scared me, so it's fine. We all have our things with Ernest and his world. So yeah.
Maybe I should. I vowed to watch Legally Blonde recently, so maybe I should watch an Ernest movie recently now and just kind of reappraise it.
That'll be for Patreon. We'll making Jen watch.
Yeah, I like.
Yeah, what movie should Jen watch?
I vowed to watch Legally Blonde. I think I should also vow to watch Ernest Scared Stupid.
It can be our most eclectic series on Patreon.
Exactly, a double feature. Yes. What movies does Jen shit on that she should actually watch? Well, Rachel, what movie scared you as a kid?
It's funny. Sleeping Beauty scared me. But
really?
Specifically, I think it's Sleeping Beauty, right? Because her name's Aurora, and that's the one with Maleficent, right? So when Maleficent is in the fireplace and she's all like witchy and ghosty, and she goes, Aurora. Like, I vividly remember, like, I will jump behind the couch and tell my mom, fast forward, because that moment specifically scared me. I don't know that, but E.T. also. The hazmat suits. That when I actually saw it actually really scared me. Mm-hmm. And so honestly, I haven't seen E.T. since, which is insane. Wow. So I should probably, again, I need to confront my fears. Yeah. And I know I'm not going to be scared now, but I just haven't gone back.
It can be a revolving Patreon show. Make Jen watch, make Rachel watch. We can go, Sammy and I can have ours. Make them watch.
Just got to do it.
That would be really fun. I was terrified of the machine in The Princess Bride when I was little. I used to hide behind the couch, and I was too scared to watch Labyrinth too. I remember that was like a big slumber party movie, and I was like, I can't do this, people. This
you saying that, you saying the machine, I actually have another one, and it was The Brave Little Toaster used to scare me. The machine and The Brave Little Toaster. Yeah. It was like the car machine with the magnet. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. My earliest memory of being scared, though, is the book in the Care Bears movie. It opens and it's got the face. Oh. And I looked at it recently because I was telling my friends that I was afraid of it. And she actually looks really cool. Like, she looks like somebody I would be friends with now. It's just like this green kind of witchy face in the middle of this book. And
it is fascinating to me, like, what kids find scary.
Yeah.
Like, now, like, I don't have kids of my own, but I have, like, my niece is 5.5. And even just hearing from her, like, what is scary, like, for some reason, I don't know his name, the Rock's character in Moana.
Yeah.
Like, there's scenes in there that my sister has said, like, no, that, like, actually really scared her for some reason. Or, like, certain things.
I think.
Yeah, is it Maui? Okay, I'm not Maui. Sure. But, and just, like, certain interesting things. But then again, like, she loves bugs. She loves lizards. She loves Halloween stuff, and which I love, because I'm like, good. I feel like I've kind of desensitized her that. So, like, witches and ghosts and all of that she's fine with. But it's just, like, really interesting what, like, kids kind of latch on to. And I don't know. I kind of love that in some way. Not like in a like, let's see what's going to scare this little kid.
Yeah.
But just kind of like, oh, that's interesting, because just seeing it through their eyes, I think, is fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's interesting to me is watching my kids be familiar with horror icons, but not having any contact. Like, they all know who Pennywise is. They all know. They kind of know who Jason and Freddy are. And my son is, I said he loved Scream. He got really into it, even though he was really scared the first time we watched it. And I took him to see the new movie in theaters, which was a big moment for me, because it was about Sydney and her kids. Anyways, so, and I mean, the movie has its issues, but I was just like, but I also have watched with him Halloween. We've watched Friday the 13th, and we've watched It Chapter 1. Now, Rachel, I think I may have told you this, but if you were to guess which of those three he found the scariest, what do you think it would be? Did I tell you this, Rachel?
Well, wait, It Chapter 1, what were...
It Chapter 1,
yeah,
the original Halloween, and the original Friday the 13th.
Oh, original Friday the 13th, which is interesting. That was the one.
He was super scared by that. And I think part of it is because you don't see the killer till the very end, Mm-hmm. So it was and
it's something... because he is familiar with the iconography, it's not there.
Exactly. And he's imagining it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's probably like, if it was Jason, he's like, oh, I've seen this.
Like waiting
it's safe.
for Jason.
Okay, I understand this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But when you don't know. because spoiler alert, you don't know in that first one.
You don't.
Sorry, people. And so to not have that to latch on to is fascinating. Oh, Jen, you're gonna have to
I know.
Was there did he get the whole twist and was it a twist for him?
Yeah, he did. He was surprised by, kind of, because he's seen Scream. And so he knew, once he saw it happen, he could put it together,
Yeah.
which that's the order I saw it in too. So I was like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
So I think, most of us millennials, that we encountered Scream before we encountered the original Friday the 13th.
Definitely.
And he liked, of those three, he liked It Chapter 1 the best, but he wasn't scared by it at all, which is so interesting because that book is terrifying, So it's just, it's like I'm loving watching all of these things through his eyes and kind of exploring it.
That must be so cool.
It's really interesting. But his favorite is still Scream and the Scream franchise. And I bring it up because Scream, written and directed by Wes Craven, like The People Under the Stairs. So let's talk about what happens in this movie in our first category, Her Story.
I am so much happier now that I'm dead. Technically missing. Soon to be presumed dead. Gone. And my lazy, lying, cheating, oblivious husband will go to prison for my murder.
See, sometimes I do real.
That was amazing. Well done.
Thank you.
It's almost like you're a pro.
Yeah.
I know. It will happen again in about 6 to 8 episodes. Okay, so this is a section. Did I already say this? Spoilers abound, everybody. Listen at your own risk. Poindexter, a.k.a. Fool, is a 13-year-old kid from the ghetto, and that is the movie's word.
Mm-hmm.
His mom has cancer they can't afford to treat, and his family just got evicted. They're the last ones left in their building, and they hear that the landlord is going to convert the space into office buildings, which is the 1991 equivalent of condos, Orange Theory, and Whole Foods. Luckily, his sister's friend Leroy has a plan. Spencer just robbed a liquor store last night and learned that the owner is also the Fool's landlord. We're going to talk about that name because I got some thoughts. Even better, he knows the landlord's address and that there's a whole bunch of gold hidden in their house. Inside said house, a girl named Alice serves her terrifying parents who insist on calling each other mommy and daddy. But she's been secretly feeding a mysterious creature in the walls, which earns her a vicious beating from daddy.
I'm sorry. I can't believe we're here again, you guys.
The incest zone?
The incest zone.
The incest zone, yeah.
We are.
I completely
welcome
forgot.
Back. We should, Rachel, can you
know.
make us like a
cannibalism
that
zone?
goes up?
I forgot about that, and I was like, we did it again.
We did it.
We're here.
Unintentional incest
Here we are.
strikes again.
Gothic romance be damned. We're back again.
We're back in back in the incest again. That's not. Ooh, I'm sorry. We are a classy show here. I promise. Also, I had a bit of an existential crisis when I wrote they insist on calling each other mommy and daddy, because I do call Corey daddy to my kids. Because you do when they're little, and I'm slowly starting to grow out of it. But it's weird
because
when
you're
they
referring to them.
Exactly.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
I've started to kind of shift over into your dad, or dad, but I do say daddy, but not in a weird way.
It's fine now. Once they graduate and move out and stuff, if you're still calling each other like mommy and daddy or mother.
And we don't call each other that.
God.
I refer to Corey as daddy when I'm talking to my kids sometimes. So but when we're alone, we don't really use each other's names, which is so weird. Sorry, this is just tangent central. We're incest zone, tangent zone, soon to be cannibal zone. But he calls me Jennifer too, which is just.
Ooh.
I know.
How formal and intimate.
I know.
Yeah.
He's one of the few people that calls me Jennifer, yeah. Okay, anyways. So they call each other mommy and daddy. They're awful. Yes. The next day, Leroy, Fool, and Spencer arrive to case the house. Spencer cons his way in past the woman, and no, they don't have names. They're woman and man or mommy and daddy. But Spencer doesn't come out of the house. After the woman leaves, Leroy and Fool break in and are immediately attacked by a vicious dog named Prince, who I have to believe just wants to be a good boy. And he just has terrible owners. It's not Prince's fault. Hashtag not Prince's fault. They find a seriously booby-trapped house that's essentially impossible to get out of. Also, there are a whole bunch of monsters under the stairs in the basement. They're the people under the stairs. Fool escapes the basement thanks to the help of the girl whose name turns out to be Alice. She helps him hide when the man and woman return. And it's a good thing, too, because the man throws on a full leather BDSM suit and begins rampaging around the house with a shotgun. We're going to talk about it because what the fuck? He finds and kills Leroy, but Fool is able to escape into the walls, where he meets Roach, one of the basement people who managed to get into the walls. He was supposed to be Alice's brother, but he spoke evil, and so the man cut out his tongue and threw him in the basement with the other failed children. This begins a cat and mouse game in which the man and woman try to catch and kill Fool when they're not butchering Leroy's body and feeding it to the basement people, which means, yes, we've entered the cannibal zone. So, because he's got blood on his mouth, he's eating that body too.
Gross.
I know, yeah. Fool finds a way to escape through the roof, but Alice is afraid and stays behind, earning her even more brutal abuse. Fool calls the police, but the man and woman are able to use their wealth, charm, and whiteness to trick them into leaving. We find out from Fool's grandpa that the family in the house has always been crazy. They've always preyed on the community, and every generation gets worse. Mommy and Daddy are actually brother and sister, and they've been snatching babies to be their children. Fool returns to the house to save Alice and manages to free the basement people. They swarm the woman as she's trying to kill Alice and chase her through the house. She's finally impaled by her knife by Alice and falls into the basement dead. Fool, who has found the gold, rigs a trigger to all the dynamite that's lying around the basement. After a final fuck you, he blows up the man and the basement, sending the money raining down on the streets where everyone from the community has gathered. And that's the people under the stairs. And yes, there's a lot to unpack in this bonkers movie.
Yes.
Shelby, what's your story with the people under the stairs?
This was my first time seeing it. I had never seen it before. It's like,
wow.
And, it's like, it's around, so I've known a lot about it. And so, honestly, when I went into it, I was like, have I seen this? Like, I just know so much about it. And then I was like, oh, I have not seen this. This is way more bonkers than I
you would remember.
Realized. Yeah, because, like, you get the beats of, like, oh, there's, like, cannibals. There's people under the stairs. Like, I didn't know about the incest. I didn't know about, like, the entire, like, just the like the message of the movie of like gentrification and everything, which was so interesting to me. Like, I didn't know like racism would be a huge part of it. When he first dropped that first like N-word, I was like, oh, this is a different movie than I was expecting. Okay, we're in a different movie. Yeah, I'm in. Like, love it. Love that the little boy is the same little boy from The Sandlot and Mighty Ducks. Love him. And in his little Boy Scout uniform, that was we talk about annoying kids and we have our like favorite kids. He's officially one of my favorite movie kids because that was the cutest thing ever. And he was so noble. So yeah, this is my first time watching it. So I'm really excited to talk about it because what the fuck, you guys?
Dude, seriously. And I feel like it's one of Craven's films that doesn't get talked about very much, you know?
Yeah.
Well, Rachel, what's your story with the people under the stairs?
I saw this, fairly recently in the grand scheme of things. I saw this post seeing, some of the Craven heavy hitters, Scream, Nightmare on Elm Street, of course, Hills Have Eyes, even after seeing Last House on the Left. And then I know that I had already seen Twin Peaks as well. So I think I saw this within like the last 10 to 15 years. But then when I saw this, I'm not going to lie, I was like, oh, this is a different tone.
Yes. That's a great way to encompass my viewing experience. Yes. Yes.
Like, I remember really enjoying it, and I do enjoy this movie. However, I was a little surprised at how funny it was. And also I'm like, oh, he's like doing his own kind of Craven take on like the Goonies kind of thing.
Yes.
It does feel like a kid's movie. Like, this is like a gateway horror. There's clearly some heavy things that happen in this, and some genuinely, I think if you were a kid, would be really scary, and some interesting choices that were made.
Yes.
However, it does feel, it's got that sense of adventure. It is a pretty simple, this house with all these, apparently it just has like giant hallways within the walls and all these trap doors and booby traps. And so I just always remember being really surprised by it, but also really appreciating and loving the humor, loving some of the messages. And then, yeah, I mean, a fool is such a great character, a great kid that he's so sweet and endearing and cute. And I like hanging out with him. He's smart and he's funny. And that final thing when he says fuck at the end, it's like, oh yeah, get him, fool.
Yeah.
So I've always had a real soft spot for this movie, but also it's also just like campy as all hell, especially like, the man and the woman and the performances. And I can't remember the actor's name. Was it Wendy Roby and Ed from Twin Peaks? It's like they are hamming it up.
Yeah.
Hardcore.
Like cartoonishly evil.
Yeah,
Yes.
which is actually, I think,
good thing.
helps, like knowing them from Twin Peaks and stuff. To me, it's really fun. But I can also see how it would be kind of a turnoff to some people, I can imagine.
Yeah, and I mean, we're definitely going to talk about them because they are just so bizarre. And I'm not recognizing them from Twin Peaks. This is really the only thing I've ever seen them in. But as I was doing this outline, or the only thing that I remember seeing them in, because I think Wendy Roby is just one of those people. She's been in a lot of stuff, especially around this time period, But I saw that they were both in Twin Peaks, and I was like, okay, well, that makes sense. Like, it feels appropriate, Yeah, and I was looking up The Serpent and the Rainbow also. Have y'all seen that?
Yeah.
Yeah, which I do really like. And both of those, Wes Craven is a white man, and I think it's interesting that he did both of those films early in his career. Now, he did not write The Serpent and the Rainbow. He directed it, but I think this movie doesn't get everything right, and it's definitely dated, but I admire the attempt to center a Black protagonist, especially a young kid. Like, I'm trying to think of a whole lot of movies we see that really follow a heroic kid this early, like we see it a lot now, and especially after like Stranger Things. And, of course, yes, I know Stephen King has been doing kid-centric stories since time began. But, it's just interesting to see this type of movie or someone like Wes Craven doing this type of movie.
I agree. I was very surprised by that. Pleasantly surprised. I was like, oh, I didn't know anyone was doing this at this time. That's
it feels
neat.
like an anomaly. Because you're right, Rachel. There is a lot of Sandlot vibe, or not Sandlot. What is
Goonies.
it? Goonies? Goonies vibe.
Yeah.
Oh, also Goonies scared the shit out of me when I was little too.
That's
really
nope, can't
One
do
Eyed
it.
Willie.
One-Eyed Willie.
Yeah.
Yes, he was super scary. And then I realized, he's just, he's not the villain. But I think here, this is like a proper horror movie. Like, we're talking about cannibalism here and like mutant-y monsters and like bad child abuse too. And I kind of love that juxtaposition of this like really intrepid kid saving the day against these monsters. And while I had grown up reading stories like this, I don't think I was ready for to watch it. So when I watched this, I don't remember when. It was probably one of those things where I was like, I'm going to check this off, or I was like writing something about Wes Craven or something, and I was like, let me just. And here's the thing: I think I like the concept of this movie more than I like the execution of it. Like, it's never going to be my favorite Wes Craven movie. I do not think it's bad by any means, and I think if you look at it as camp, then. And it's got a lot of things that I love in it. Also, it's got AJ Langer in it, who is Rayanne from My So-Called Life, who is, one of my my early anti-heroes that I fell in love with.
But young Ving Rhames. I was so surprised to see Ving Rhames so
I wrote
young.
Ving Rhames in all caps in my notes because I just love him. I forgot he was in this.
I do too. When he showed up, because I tried to not look up any of the cast before, because especially with movies from like this time period, it's like not so far away, just enough away to be like, oh, I'm going to have some like little surprises of people who are somebody now. And it was like, oh, Ving Rhames right off the bat. Like, look at you with your hair. Oh my God. Like,
and Kelly Jo Minter, who's in a ton of stuff.
Yes.
Like her as well. So it's definitely, Craven's got his people, and it's just cool to see all these familiar faces. Like, oh yeah, I had no idea you were in this. That's awesome.
And then Bill Cobb too, who I think is the grandpa, and he's not in it for just a minute, but you're like, oh, I love you. I wish
it was so great to see his face again. He was one
it
of
really
those.
was,
Like,
yeah.
it's you.
And like I don't know. I think the issue I have with this is not really an issue. It's just me. It's like this house is so disgusting. It's so uncomfortable. There's a lot of really kind of garish gore in here, and it's like that late 80s early 90s type of gore too. Like I'm not going to compare this movie to Total Recall, but there's just kind of that one has just gore and imagery that just kind of like set my teeth on edge, and this one kind of has that vibe too. So it's like it's got all of the ingredients and it gets about 75% there for me, and then but I this is not a repeat watcher for me. I don't think,
No, not a background watch. You'd rather watch, Chernobyl.
I would rather watch Chernobyl.
Yeah. You would,
famously clean and,
no
no
horrific
griminess.
gore at all.
Nope, it's just regular and fun,
I did, though, watching this, I felt Nightmare on Elm Street the most of all of his other movies, because I was the same way. I was kind of watching it thinking, like, where do I feel the rest of his, resume? And I was like, I feel Nightmare on Elm Street. In this, I feel it in this home. But yeah, that's what I was
come to this
feeling.
place for Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yes,
yeah, I can get that. Yeah,
It's like without the supernatural, but like there was just some tinge of it, like that I just felt throughout it.
There is no supernatural element in this. That's interesting. Yeah,
just
and
good
also,
old incest.
Just good old incest and cannibalism,
Yeah, classics.
And I wonder if that's part of it too, because Nightmare on Elm Street, I struggle with. I love them; they're fantastic works of art. New Nightmare is my favorite because I think it's the most like grounded in reality. But I don't like to sleep, so I don't like a sleep monster.
Oh, yeah.
I know, yeah. But anyways, that's not to say there's not a ton to talk about in this movie. And that's what I love about it. It's a rich text. And like I said, I love that Wes Craven made a movie like this, especially in 1991.
And like there were like a lot of, I think there were, I just want to say like in horror in general, there's a lot of kid horror movies. You think like Monster Squad or The Gate and that kind of stuff. But to be tackling something like this, to be tackling full grown adults with guns in a house and dealing with child abuse and like you were all of the political,
child
economical issues.
And,
like pretty serious, heavy, big topics. It's not like they're fighting little, I don't even know what those little creatures are in The Gate.
Oh yeah, hell demons, hole monsters
like, walking up through and like fighting them. So it to me it does feel separate from those, even though it is kind of like on brand with those kind of horror movies. It feels
my
more
brain
serious.
had a hard time placing this movie because it is like it feels like a kid's movie. It does have Goonie feelings, but then there's a gimp suit and like the N-word and like it's child abduction to like a very abusive degree. Like the abuse scenes with Alice, we'll get to it, but like there are a few scenes that were like, oh my, this is really hard to watch as an adult. Like, it's,
Well, and it's rated R too. And I just looked up The Gate.
Oh, it is?
The Gate
I
is
didn't even realize
PG-13.
Yeah,
this is R. And I'm sure there are movies that we're forgetting about. So listeners, let us know how wrong we are. We love you. You help us, because when you're talking in the mic, it's hard to remember every movie. But this movie feels like it's for adults, but it also kind of, now that I'm thinking about it, it kind of feels a little bit like Cobweb, Do you remember that movie with Anthony Starr?
Yeah.
And, that felt kind of like a fairy tale. Like everything is so over the top that it does kind of feel cartoonish. Like these are not human parents. They're like the biggest monster version of a mom and dad you can find.
Yeah.
And that feels like it is kind of targeted to kids, but the rest of it feels like it's targeted at adults. And I wonder if that's why this movie doesn't really feel like it has a place, because it doesn't really have a community that evangelizes it, because it's just,
it's kind of straddles some interesting lines.
It does. Yeah. Well, let's talk about these monster women. Well, monster parents. In our next category, who is she?
I just wish we could all get along like we used to in middle school. I wish that I could bake a cake made out of rainbows and smiles, and we'd all eat it, be happy.
She doesn't even go here.
Do you even go to this school?
Okay, so we have the woman who's played by Wendy Roby, and just like the red lip on this woman. I was like, she's evil.
Well, and the mommy dearest.
Oh, yes.
Makeup and the whole
I was going to say the
everything.
kinky makeup, and the hair. Yeah, absolutely.
I love it. We're going to have to cover Mommy Dearest at some point because I am obsessed.
No wire hangers.
Dude, I've been reading the book too. I've been reading it over the course of
I just
year.
started Shirley MacLaine's daughter's book, and I did not realize Shirley MacLaine had her own little bit of Mommy Dearest run there. Yeah.
No,
allegedly,
Weeza.
according to her daughter, I will say, please don't sue me, Shirley MacLaine.
Yes.
Yeah, just started that one though. So
that is Weeza, right? Weeza from Steel Magnolias. I always get her and Olympia Dukakis mixed up. But
wait, maybe she? Yeah, it's
Here Hit Weeza. Weeza's the mean one, and I think
she's the mean one. Now I can't remember.
Listeners, let us know. Oh my god, maybe we can cover Steel Magnolias because she's, sufficiently villainous. Anyways, we're just suggesting.
Who is she? Great question. We got to finish. Shirley MacLaine is Weezer. Yeah.
Weezer. Okay, there we go.
There you go.
So
You're right.
Here Hit Weeza, except don't hit one. Anyways, okay. I'm quoting Steel Magnolias, people. Okay, so we have Wendy. I'm sorry, the woman played by Wendy Robbie, and then Alice. I counted her because she is the one who actually deals the killing blow.
I agree. Yeah, I would count her. Mm-hmm.
I do too. Yeah, she jumps down from the ceiling and slams
when she jumps down
from
the ceiling, that was so fucking cool, man.
Yeah,
I was like, yes, girl.
That's my Rayanne. Okay, did y'all watch My So-Called Life? Do you know what I'm talking about, Rayanne?
I haven't seen it in so long, Jen.
Me either. I feel like I did a long time ago.
Add it to the rewatch list.
Okay. She sleeps with Jordan Catalano after he and Angela have broken up, and it is bad news. But she also has substance abuse issues and a troubled home life, so you understand. But it's still
also this actress is 17 when she's in this movie. So.
Yes,
which is so apparent from certain angles. The little girl thing works some of the time, but then there's some angles where it's she almost looks like a grown woman.
Yes,
yeah,
yeah,
but maybe for the best though, because she has to deal with. There's some lines and things delivered her way that it's oof, if this was an actual kid, that would be rough.
It's very true. Yeah, it's really uncomfortable. The scene where the woman drags her into the bathtub too.
That's the scene that really got me.
Yeah. And you just imagine what every day is like for her,
Oh, God.
Okay, so our victims, aside from all the people under the stairs, Spencer with an S, which feels like it kind of wants to break my brain, and that is Jeremy Roberts. Leroy Ving Rhames, Roach, who is Sean Whalen, who he's another that 90s that guy, I was like, and then I forgot to say, I think in the synopsis that he dies mid story, and then Fool, who's played by Brandon Quentin Adams, and no relation, but I love him. I remember watching. We said Mighty Ducks, I think, is the first time I ever saw him. And then we're big Sandlot heads here, too.
Same.
Okay, our motive, incest, maybe inbreeding. And then I just wrote fucking crazy. Because, it feels
gold coins for some reason.
That feels very Goonies to me, too.
It did.
The treasure.
Threw me.
Very of the time period.
They lost me for a second because when they were first explaining the gold coins, I was like, oh, they're saying it in this way because he's a kid. It's not really going to be gold coins. And then it was.
It's gold coins.
It's gold
okay.
Coins. It's gold coins.
Doubloons.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think for motive too, it's keeping up appearances. I think it's just that the social pressures as far as the woman and the man are concerned anyway.
Yeah, there's just garden variety racism, there's capitalism, but there's also just they suck. They're pieces of shit, and it is kind of fun to see such an outsized villain character, that I was just thinking about this because we're doing our rankings, and I was writing about one of Stephen King's outsized villains from Rose Madder. And I was like, I kind of like that Norman in that book is so awful. There is no way you can empathize with him. He almost becomes a symbol, And
Yeah.
anyways,
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but there's several moments where I just really feel for this man and this woman, no, like who has any sympathy?
Why doesn't their daughter just clean the floor?
Why doesn't she just clean the floor?
Redeeming.
Why doesn't she just wear the pretty
characters.
dress and not get it dirty? I mean,
Because her mother
being a
worked
bitch.
so hard on it.
Yeah.
Yes. Just in the amount of times they say burn in hell, too. I was like,
My God.
Brittany
I love when
Cartwright,
Alice says
eat
it
your
back
heart
to her. It's
yes. Oh, it's so nice. And yes, that is rot in hell or rotten hell.
Rotten hell.
Rotten hell. Yes, we're talking about reality TV again. Sorry.
So, it sneaks in.
It does. I know. Listeners, stay tuned. Okay. So our weapons, I'm sure there's some stuff I forgot. Prince, the bathtub, guns, a gimp suit, booby-trapped house, privilege, charm, capitalism, whiteness, a carving knife. I'm going to say dynamite also.
yeah, I would say dynamite.
Because he is kind of a little bit hoisted by his own petard,
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but we cannot go on without talking about the elephant in the room. What the fuck is up with this leather daddy suit? Like, what is going on here? Rachel, what do you think?
Jen, I'm so glad you asked. Because I have no fucking idea. This is one of the choices I alluded to earlier.
Uh-huh.
Just insane. And I have my theories. So, number one, it looks cool.
It does kind of
I think it's one of those things. He puts it on when he's hunting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if this was at all intended for children, I would think that it's like, ooh, that's scary. And, I would hope that they would not have the associations. I'm thinking Pulp Fiction, of associations with this suit that maybe an adult would have. So if I'm looking at it from a purely aesthetic point of view, it does look really scary, but also really cool. And you have to have somebody like, what's it, Everett McGill, right? That's his actual name. I just want to call him Big Ed. Everett McGill, you have to have somebody like that who can pull that suit off, and he can. He looks fantastic in that suit.
He does.
However, that's an interesting choice. But I also think that if I'm looking at it as this character, this is a character who presents as like an upstanding, wealthy white citizen in this community. Clearly, appearances are very important to them, and this is kind of like his, okay, I'm going to go hunting now. This is sort of my alter ego kind of persona that he only wears in the house when he's doing this one specific thing, which is hunting down children with firearms in
just
his
shooting
house.
holes in his walls and ceiling too.
Shooting holes in his house. So I think that is kind of maybe the thinking behind it, is that this is clearly like there is a very dark side to this person. And you know what? Here's the thing, Wes Craven, I don't know if we needed the leather daddy suit to tell us that. I'm pretty sure it's pretty obvious he's a bad man, but I don't know. I think it was kind of one of those things where, like, you know what? This would be kind of fun and crazy and scary. And Everett McGill's like, sure, why not?
Do you think this movie would have had a longer life if we didn't have that? Like, do you think we would still be talking about it more?
Maybe it would be less campy, I think.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like their it's like drag almost in their way, right? Like it's like their character, and you have to think like the woman, the mom, is doing the same exact thing with the hair and the makeup and the mommy dear. Like she is clearly putting a lot of effort into how she's looking. And so it's kind of like they're just playing a certain part, but it does date it and it stands out. Let's just say that. It stands out.
And now I like it. It's like, okay, well, this is the wacky thing about this movie, or it's like the trivia kind of thing. This is the Repo the Genetic Opera element of this movie.
Bingo card.
Exactly. Well, Shelby, what about you? What do you think about this?
You know what? I actually tried to look it up. Sammy's not here. She always does all of our
she's our research beret wearer.
Yeah, but because I was like, why though? Why? Couldn't find a thing. No idea. Did find one girl on Reddit who said that she saw this when she was a kid, and she said that was her first crush, was him in the gimp suit. And she's like,
I
I
almost
don't know what
spit
that
out my
says about me.
Celsius.
So.
Sorry.
Right. Sorry. Celsius.
Hey, the hard ones with the heart one.
So I don't know. It threw me at first. I had like looked away and I was like, is this someone else? Like, I first like half a second was like, is this one of the people from under the stairs that got out? Like, is this one of them?
Right?
No, it's him. Okay. So he went and he just like put this on. That scene's not easy to put on. Is it supposed to? And I thought the same thing where I was like, not to like say Wes Craven didn't like know what a gimp suit was, but it was like, is this supposed to be a gimp suit? Like, is this supposed to be sexual in what it's, supposed like what we know it as? Or because, like you said, because this was 1991 and like this culture, the subculture was less known.
Yeah.
Did he think it would just come off as scary? Like, I had all these same thoughts you guys did. Like, was this just supposed to be like, the normies will think this is just weird and scary, but now it's 2026 and we're like, that's a gimp suit, my friend.
Yes.
Like, what are you doing? Like,
because we've seen Pulp Fiction now,
Yeah.
Exactly. We've
I
seen,
think it
we've
might
seen
be
American
sexual.
Horror Story. It's
Oh,
we have
yeah.
a lot. Yeah, we have a lot of content these days that feature that in a way.
There's
that's
a lot of
actually kind
gimps out there.
frightening. Yeah,
There are dozens of
right. There are
of
dozens
them.
of them.
Sorry.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know. I think like Rachel, what you said, like it's him getting into like this is his hunting mode.
Yeah.
And now he's hunting. But it's revealed that all the people under the stairs were like babies they had snatched. And I'm like, okay, but if he's in hunting mode, like does he steal the babies in the gimp suit? Like I doubt it. I know he's like not in
Maybe
in normie
this
mode
is
on
his
the outside.
kink. Like, because there's that moment too where I just forgot, like when Alice is tied up and he like grabs his crotch when he's like wearing the suit, and it's like, is this his kink? Is like abusing
I wondered
kids?
if there was like a sexual abuse aspect of that relationship, because when we first kind of meet them and she and mommy goes to get the food out of Alice's room, and she finds out like she's given like the people under which is, by the way, what a reveal. Like already in the movie, she's like, were you feeding the people in the walls again? And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? That's just like, so they're there. Because I went in a little blind. I was like, so do they know that the people are in the wall? Oh, okay. So we're just aware and they're like a nuisance, like some sort of pest. Okay. So strange. And just the hand offering the fork out of the wall. And during that scene, mommy's like, because daddy's all worked up and he had a bad day. And she is basically like, oh, well, perfect. This bitch fucked up. So you get to do whatever you want with her. And we do see it implies like he's going to beat her with a belt. But like the way the conversation goes, I was like, this felt sexual.
He just walks into his room, taking his belt off too.
Yeah.
And I definitely think there's a sexual undertone to him putting on a gimp suit and blowing loads all over his house, with a shotgun.
Oh my God.
Nailed it.
That was so beautiful. Beautifully said.
I'm nothing if not a lady. But I also think, we're saying incest. They're calling themselves mommy and daddy. And that is definitely the implication here. But there's no sex in this movie at all. There's never
no sex,
really, we don't ever really even confirm that they share a room. So it could be that this is like a sexual gratification for him because he doesn't have sex with her, and that they're stealing babies because they're not making babies, so I was
maybe
thinking
they don't.
Maybe they might not. I don't know that.
Or they know because like but then the grandpa's saying how it's like generations, so it's like maybe it's one of those things where they're like, you can't have kids with each other, but they know that they like want a family, but like not for like because they actually care and want a family, but because they have like the generation,
well,
the lineage,
they wanted
the
the
legacy.
perfect white child. Isn't that what Alice says? She like words it like that. That stuck out to me. That they wanted the perfect white child. I was like, oh.
And part of me loves how on the nose this is, especially now after like a decade of like coded language, and like,
yes,
I love that we have these two super racist characters just saying, like, wearing their racism on their sleeve. I don't love it. I appreciate it that it's not subtle here. But as far as the leather, I was thinking, and Rachel, you will know this better than me because you talked about this recently, but Hellraiser, I was wondering if this was kind of like because when was Hellraiser, the first one?
Wasn't it like 88, 89?
80,
something like that?
So around this time.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because that is, and it's interesting to see the new Hellraiser, which I'm a defender of. We may talk about it one day, but those Cenobites are not black leather centered, like the original Cenobites. And that's just, it almost felt like black leather equals sinister. And I wonder if Craven just doesn't quite pull it off here, but I wonder if that was the intent. But also, you can't ignore the sexual implication here because he's also
like,
again
Clive's
he's
always doing
with
black leather.
Weapon.
I get what I'll do black leather. Okay.
Exactly.
And then it's like,
yeah.
oh no, you went too hard. You went too that's
not in a good way.
Wes.
To like villainize. I mean, I don't think this is what he's doing, but like looking at it through an analytical modern lens, it's like, do I love that he's like trying to villainize something that, is like in consensual circles can be like totally fine and acceptable. And like, it's like, that's one does not equal the other. BDSM, gimp suits does not equal criminal behavior.
No, absolutely
and so
not.
It's like one of the, and I don't think he's doing that. But like we said, it was a different time. I do think it was probably in the air, probably with the Hellraiser thing. And I honestly, he probably was just like, that looks really cool. And Everett McGill can like pull it off. So let's do it. It looks scary.
Well, and I think that's part of the reason Hellraiser has made a lot more waves than this has, or that is a much more like resonant film. Despite the fact that in quality, they're very similar. They both kind of have that aesthetic that matches. And quality-wise, quality's not quite the right word.
They take place in a house, too.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It's like very, it is like pretty much, I mean,
it's like a visceral feel,
story.
And we've got a young daughter who's tormented by an older couple. So maybe this is like his Goonies meets Hellraiser, And he's like, well, we got to have a hell priest in black leather. So here you go.
Yeah. I wonder if that was on the pitch board. It's like
Goonies meets Hellraiser.
Hear me out. Goonies meets Hellraiser.
Sign me up.
It's what the people want.
Yeah,
it's
Jordan feels like gimp suit. It's in the movie.
Exactly. Sorry, that was a slanderous. Oh, well, you know what else is in the movie? I was about to say we're getting in our gimp suits and we are
getting out our shotguns and going killing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Give me a minute.
I mean, it's like the shotgun is sitting on his hip too. Like he's
right.
walking around. He's blowing those loads all over the place. Really hope that viewers can see all
this is what video podcasts were created.
This is what video podcasting is for.
Yes.
This is why we do it. This
is our gift to you. Well, okay, we are getting in a van that was just the Home Alone killer, not killers,
the Wet
Home Alone van, the Wet Bandits van.
Killers from Home Alone.
Kevin is the killer from Home Alone. Okay,
Kevin is the killer. Yeah.
Psycho.
This has Home Alone vibes. I see why you said that.
Home Dude, it's a Home Alone house. It's like
the stairs. Oh my God. Yeah.
What if Pinhead was Home Alone and he had to defend himself from the Goonies?
It's in the movie.
It's in the movie.
It's in the movie.
So we're getting into the Wet Bandits van and we are going killing.
This woman will soon cut, chop, break, and burn 5 men beyond recognition. And there isn't a jury in this country that will convict her.
All right, let's dig into these details. Okay, so I had completely forgotten, probably because I didn't know what tarot was the first time I watched this, but this opens with tarot cards. Fucking love it. It is the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, so like the classic, classic imagery that goes with tarot cards. And it sounds like Craven actually knows what he's talking about here. Like he's mentioning the devil card. He's mentioning, I can't remember, like the swords, I believe, and wands. And this is a good reading because we've seen tarot. I like to get my head explodey when I see tarot misused and people think that like the death card means death or the devil means bad. And it's more complicated than that. But that's where he gets his name. It's the Fool card. And part of me wants to get mad about that because I don't love that we call him Fool all the way through. But his sister is right. The definition or the meaning of the Fool card, it's the first in the major arcana, which is kind of supposed to represent a life's journey. Like it ends with the world, which is completion. And then it's supposed to be like a cycle starting over. And the Fool is the very first card. It's actually not even 1, it's 0. And it just means you're starting out on a journey. You're starting to explore the world. And I think it's very fitting here if you understand that tarot definition. What do you think? Because there's also a racial element here, and we have a Black lead, which was something that was not common at the time, still is not very common, and we're calling him fool. Does it feel like it's diminishing him? Shelby, how do you feel about us calling him fool?
I mean, I sat with this too because I don't know as much about tarot. I was actually excited to hear what you said because I wasn't sure if the beginning was accurate or anything, like her talking about the dog and how he's like guiding him on his journey and all of that. And I do think it's interesting though there was a part where Leroy is getting shot and he says like he tells Fool to run and Daddy thinks he's calling him a fool. And it's like I don't know. I didn't know exactly what was. This was kind of early on in the movie, so I wasn't really sure. Again, it's like I read that it was a Black comedy, so it was just like, wasn't it? That was the one problem I had with it. Was like I couldn't find the balance of the like there were funny moments, but like to me, I couldn't find like I don't know, like a throughway of the comedy and the horror. Like I felt like it was a little of a bumpy ride, but in this part where he says that, and it was like, it was kind of funny that he thought he was talking about him and calling him a fool, which was like said a lot. It's like, okay, okay, yeah, this poor kid, that's his like nickname. Like that's what everybody calls him. And then his real name is Poindexter.
I know. It's like, can't catch a break. You could call him Dexter. Like Dexter is
You
hot.
could call him Dexter.
I think his mom does.
Yeah.
Yeah. His mom actually calls him Dexter.
For the record, Dexter, the adult, is hot in the show Dexter, not this Dexter. Yes. Sorry.
Disclaimer.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like I've given quite a few disclaimers. You know what? When Sammy's away.
When Sammy's away.
Yeah, we lose it. Rachel, what do you think about this character's name?
Well, I think it's an inside joke with his family because his name is Poindexter, which you think
it's like a smart kid name.
Like like Dexter's Laboratory, right? Like it's a smart name per se, and obviously he is a smart kid. And so I think they call him fool as like an inside joke because clearly he's not. But I also think that, like you said, that's kind of a commentary. Obviously there's a lot of elements of racial commentary and social commentary in this movie. And so I think it's a subversion of that because it's like, okay, you're going to call this little kid from this certain neighborhood, you're going to call him fool, but he's not.
Yeah.
But that's how he's perceived, perhaps, and like clearly this kid is anything but. So I think it's intentional. But if I'm also thinking about like the actual story and the characters, I think it's kind of like an inside joke in his family a little bit.
Yeah.
And just like maybe on the streets, it's like a funny, like, oh, what do you think? You're so smart. We're going to call you fool, kind of thing, like that, kind of like the opposite. But it's one of those things that I did have to think about because I'm like, why is he called fool? Like that doesn't fit him. But I think that's the point is that it doesn't fit him. But that's saying, we've talked a lot about reclaiming these things, right? And it feels like it does feel like he reclaims it. Like when all of the people under the stairs are like saying his name and everything, it's like he's reclaiming it and like, okay, you're going to call me a fool. Well, I'm going to call myself fool and I'm going to redefine what that means. And I'm going to be the badass hero in this story.
Well, in one of his final fuck you lines to the man is he calls him boy, which is a very charged racial term too. And so that feels like a moment of reclaiming. And I agree with you. I don't think Craven is intending to be racist or be insensitive here at all.
No, I think it's intentional, but in a positive way.
I think so too. Yes, I completely agree. I think for me, it just feels like the intent is good, but the impact, because it feels a little bit like minstrelsy also, which just
it's one of those things where it's like I think I like the I understand the thought, but does it actually make sense in this movie? Does it actually come through? Does the message come through? I don't know. I don't think he sells the execution of that choice. Yeah. That I think is a little maybe not so strong.
I agree. And I also want to name too, we are three white women talking about this too. So we would love to hear, listeners, what you think about this. And, is there anything that we're not seeing here?
Yeah.
True. And you know what? We got to get to our mommy and daddy. But before we do that, let's pay some bills. Okay. So let's talk about mommy and daddy. They just keep saying burn in hell. And I just love him. I love it. I don't love him because he's gross. He's really scary, like, and not in a hot way either. I love a good, hot, scary man
Yeah,
covered
I
in
know what you
blood.
mean.
This is
But this
not.
was not
This is
it.
not
Yeah.
it. No. But the woman also says, talking about fool, we will get him out of our house. He's filthy. He's bad. So, Shelby, what do the man and the woman want? Like,
They
what
want
the fuck is up
perfect
here?
white child.
Mm,
It's really hard to get like their motive. Again, I was so thrown off by like the gold coins. Like you guys
yeah.
collect gold coins from people. They want to, gentrify. They obviously want the money because when we first meet them, they're like by firelight and they're in shadow. And she's like, when is this happening? And he's like, it's happening tomorrow at midnight. And they're talking about money. They are talking about money. So they do want money and
Mhm.
power, but it is almost like they're in this weird cycle because they don't really go out. I mean, Alice never goes out, but also it's not like they're toting her around as like, look at us and our beautiful family, going to
Mhm.
like social gatherings and being a part of rich society. It seems like they're very like they're homebodies, to put it lightly.
They're
And so
introverts.
yeah, they're introverts. I don't know what their motivation is. That was one thing I really couldn't get a handle on through all of it. Like the motivation for just putting your discarded child trials into the wall. I mean, I know they like escaped into the walls at first, like Roach escaped, and that's was the whole thing.
Mhm.
But it's like they're just kind of like, yeah, they live in the walls. Don't feed them. And they're not very proactive about that, but they're
Mhm.
very proactive about kicking Black people out of neighborhoods and
Mhm.
not their own, like, again, discarded children in the walls. They're like, it's just really strange. It's like I think that's part of it though, is like they're maniacs. They don't
Yeah.
have like a true, like, motivation that would make sense to anyone other than them. Like, it only has to
Mhm.
make sense to me, Like,
Yeah.
this is just the gimp suit and the children and the gold coins, and they like squirrel their money away in a vault, which means they're not really putting it in a bank or like investing, but also they're building new office buildings. And I think this is just like premium, like, I don't know, they're just crazy. They're just
Yeah.
crazy, which is kind of great. They don't have some sinister motivation because at the end of the day, they were two children who grew up brother and sister, and now it's like they're playing at what they think their parents did. And
Mhm.
like our parents kept doing these real estate deals, so that's what we do. But like they don't know the other parts. They don't know about investing. They don't know how to do the rest of it. So it really does feel like very like a lot of Arrested Development in like playing pretend and playing house, but they're aware enough to know that they're weird and to not let people inside. Like
Yeah.
she does not want the police coming inside and finding out about
Mhm.
the children in their walls, So
Yeah.
they do know it's weird, but I don't know. It's so yeah, that was rambly, but I don't know, essentially.
No, I had the hardest time writing questions for this movie because so many of my questions were just like, what the fuck?
Why?
What is happening?
Yeah.
Why? And, I know Stephen King says, that's like the fifth time I've said Stephen King in this episode. No apologies, though. But he says every villain is the hero of their own story or something along those lines. And I was
Yeah.
thinking about that. I was like, do they think they're the heroes here? And I don't know. Rachel, what's up with them?
I mean, they're pushing people out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they're buying up property and
Mhm.
pushing the quote unquote, in their eyes, undesirables out further, get out. And if we can do this and we can keep building all these things, I mean, that's what gentrification often does, right?
Uh-huh.
Like, where else do people go? And
Mhm.
so I think that that's what they want in some ways. I think this is, like you said, though, also it's a trickle down of this generational wealth and this generational missive that their
Mhm.
family apparently has. Like, it didn't start with them, like you said. And I do think it's kind of deteriorating at this point, whether it's the
Mhm.
incest, and they are just a little crazy. So it's like they're kind of an idea of what their family has been doing for a really long time. I mean, we see that what I find fascinating is clearly they're wealthy, clearly they've got all this stuff, but it's like their house also, it's not really that impressive. It's like
it's
not
like
a
in
man. I mean,
disrepair.
it's the Rob
Yeah.
Zombie Halloween house. Like we've seen this
Yes.
house before.
That bathroom is disgusting.
Yeah, and they don't really like the only time we see it kind of cleaned up is when the cops come in.
Yeah.
And so it's not like even they care necessarily. It's all about appearances. They don't actually, but they don't live like that all the time when there's nobody else there. Like they're fine living in filth and disgusting and shooting holes in their walls, but it's just like how it looks from the outside. So I do think there's an element of, you know, some genetic mutations, I suppose, that is kind of eating away at their family tradition of just pushing people out. And just, you know, we see this all the time, right? It's like, what do people want? They just don't want other people to have stuff.
Yes.
Like it's not even like I'm not saying me personally, but there's this idea that like, well, you know, I don't have that, so I don't want you to have that.
Yeah. And
so,
I'll vote against my own interest, even if it hurts me because it hurts you more.
Yes. And so I think there's an element of that too. Like, clearly they just have piles of, they're not even doing anything with all of this money or enjoying this money or even remodeling their own goddamn house, but they just don't want others to have that money, because then if you have it, now all of a sudden you might come for what I have. And, you know, even though you might not, you know, that might not be a reality, but that fear is there. So they just want to hoard and take everything from everybody else and push people out that they do not want around them further and further away. So I think they want that. And the fact that they can't have children of their own, or I guess they're smart enough not to have children of their own. So they have to steal babies. And that's their way of continuing this for the next generation.
Do you think they were stolen as babies?
No.
That's a good question. I don't think so.
Yeah, because they're too.
I think the buck stops with them. I think this is the first.
I mean, that's the thing with dynasties like this, is it will eventually, you'll reach your ceiling. And I think we talked about that recently, and I can't remember what movie it is, but, you know, just this is the furthest limit of it, you know?
I mean, we talked about Crimson Peak and like Gothic.
I keep thinking about
speaking of
Crimson Peak,
incest, but there's kind of an element to this here, right? It's just they've got this massive mansion up on the hill where it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, this is insane. You are grasping onto something that no longer exists. And it's just they can't reconcile those two things for whatever reason, because they just can't, because they're cray-cray. They just can't reconcile those things. And so now they're just kidnapping babies, which is also, it is interesting, I guess, in the idea that they're kidnapping white. And it's like, what happened to all these parents? I hate to say it, but like, you know, missing white babies I would think would get more attention, unfortunately, than some other communities. Yeah. And so it's like, oh yeah, like there's all the boys too.
Well, the sister says at the end, and they steal babies, or maybe it's grandpa who says they steal babies from our community. And I was like, I don't know if these babies are from your community.
I mean, obviously,
and it could be, you know, but I don't know. But the thing is, it's that they're pushing Black people out, you know, like and poor people. And I think that she keeps talking about them being filthy too. Like, I think so much of this is just a distillation of racism, you know, and I think there's a street like this in Nashville that my friend grew up on. And it's like, there are these two really nice old houses that are huge. And then the rest of the street is like low income housing. And a lot of that is kind of a remnant of like the plantation setup, you know. It's like we've got like, I think the more we talk about this, I think the more I see like racial undertones of all of this, because it's like, I think their community just happens to be Black. That's who they are pushing out. And I think now, or other communities, it just would be somebody that's not white, you know. And I think they're using words like filthy, and they're like hunting for sport too, you know. And I mean, they do kill Spencer, and Spencer is white, but it's because he's in their house, you know. They're hunting these people. And I mean, I think, what is slavery but stealing babies from people too, you know? I think that is, even though these are white people, I think, or white babies, I definitely think there's a connection there. And that's like, I think they're sadists, you know. They want to hurt people that they don't consider actual people, because they are the people and everybody else is beneath them, or everybody that's not like the cops or the people that get cookies in their house. Those are the real people. And I think that's what racism is underneath everything. It's just, I want to hurt people that are not like me, and I think there are different levels of, I don't want to say there's levels of racism. There are levels of visible racism, but I think if you boil it all down, it's just this sadistic hatred of like, I just want
Oh,
to,
it's
I want
yeah,
to hurt
and
people.
classism. It all of this
Mhm.
reminded me of some bitch at the grocery store who's like, you shouldn't be able to buy that with your Snap card because,
Huh?
Ugh,
Fucking
like,
Karens?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
like that's a huge conversation where it's like,
Mhm.
and it's like, they just, and it's like, what, it doesn't affect you if they can buy hot food with their Snap card. Why shouldn't they be able to? And it's like, they can never give you an answer of like, why, why shouldn't kids
Because you
get,
should because you should be well, then what are you doing? Like, okay, but that's their choice.
Yeah.
Like,
Does
why
not
do you
affect
get
you
to
at
tell them
all.
what they're
why,
supposed
yeah,
to
or like
do?
why do they have or like, this isn't as much anymore because basically everyone has smartphones, but you guys remember when smartphones were a
Mhm.
little newer, when it was like, why should they have a smartphone? And it's like,
Exactly.
oh my God, that was like a big conversation. It's like, well, you
Mhm.
can
I
look for
remember that,
jobs
yeah.
and stuff on smartphones, you old bitch. Like, it's like,
Mhm.
I don't know, like, there's a lot of things you do with the fucking smartphone, and now look at them, they're everywhere. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's just this whole thing of, I just don't, and like you said, Jen, where it's like, I don't want them to have this because in their brain, they think for some reason that means their things are threatened. And
Yeah.
they can really
Well, and they're
never
not
justify
special,
it.
you know?
Yeah, they're not special. Exactly.
Mhm.
This was filmed in LA, and like, you can I want to go see the house. It's a gorgeous house. I feel like I've seen it before. And there are so many neighborhoods. I remember when I was very young, I was like 18 when I moved here, that I lived in this neighborhood in North Korea, in Koreatown. Um very different. But it was like, kind of like low income apartments backed up to these stunning mansions, like literally
Mhm.
back to back. And I remember thinking, like, what is it like to live in those
In the
mansions? Like,
chat, yeah.
yeah. And because I'm like, and then I didn't know much about it then, but like these days, especially with social media, you learn more about what those people feel. And they do. They are these parents, I guess, with less I would say with less incest, but I don't know what goes on in them, you know? And like there was like a call for like, well, there we should be putting up more fences and like less housing and this and that. And it's just like, oh my God, like you live the ideal lifestyle. You have everything.
Yeah.
And because someone like might like walk by your driveway or like, and it's just the whole like the suburb wars of like, someone's parked in front
Oh,
of my house on the public street. Why are
Mhm.
they there? It's like, because it's a public street. They
well, it
can
still
park there.
happens here. Like, even
Yeah.
it happened here. There was a shelter that was relocating to a bigger, nicer um building where they could offer a
Mhm.
lot more services and everything and expand. And yeah, like the quote unquote public outcry, oh well, we don't want that in
Not in my
our
backyard.
area. Yeah, because now all of these, people needing help and resources and things are
Mhm.
going to be coming here. And now we don't, but it's fine if it's over there, but I don't want that here, even though this actually makes more sense for the area and the way the city's growing and everything. And it's a
Mhm.
nicer building and they can do more and they can expand and it can actually function better. But like, but no, but what about my resale value?
Yeah.
Those kind of, this kind of conversation happens in so many different ways. And it's really just it's just gross every
Yeah.
time.
It is.
It is. And it's really just like the not in my backyard stuff is like, they don't want to be reminded of the people that they're not helping. They
Yeah.
don't want to be
That's a
reminded
lot.
of the
That is,
I
fact
don't
that
yeah.
want to
they're
see it.
hoarding. Exactly. Out of sight, out of mind. And I can make myself the victim again because I couldn't
Ignorance is
afford.
bliss, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And maybe I don't have a yacht, and poor me, I have the smallest house on this block of mansions, but if I
Mhm.
don't see these other people that I'm intentionally choosing not to help or choosing to
That's what it
vote and
is so
harm,
often, is I don't want to see it. It's not
Yeah.
about like these people are like, this for like particular person, especially like I come from a small town, so it would be like one particular homeless person on one particular corner, and it's like they have done nothing in any way that's like violent or intrusive or anything, but it's like they've got to go. Why?
Yeah.
Because I have to see them at this stoplight every day, and it's like,
And
is
then
it
I have to
because you
feel
feel
guilty.
guilty?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is that what it really is? Because what else is there? Like, they're not bothering anybody, but you just don't want to look at them. And it's like, and they're not humans to them anymore. That's the thing. That's when you really get into it with these people and you talk about, like, you know, like the homeless crisis and everything. They don't view them as human beings. It's really sinister. It's very mommy and daddy.
Yeah. Well, and we've been talking about race because it feels like that's what this movie is really about. But I mean, I think the other group that is being really disenfranchised and harmed right now is the queer community, especially the trans community right now. And so if we go back to like this leather suit, it almost feels like this performance of overt masculinity, maybe to kind of try to distance himself from, and the fact that he's with his sister too. Like, I wonder if there's some kind of overcompensating self-loathing there that he's trying to erase.
Well,
And
she does seem like the domineering one. Like, she seems like the one who's actually in charge.
she feels like she's in charge. Yes, and she's always like, "Did you get him? Did you get him?" But she won't do the thing. She wants him to do the thing because that's what the man of the house does. And it just feels like they are the furthest possible limits of how bad this kind of thing can get in a contained space. I think, other movies that we've talked about this month are the furthest limits of this in like a grand scheme kind of society way, but this is what it looks like in a single community, and it sucks. It's really bad. And it's like, I love the way this movie ended. I watched a lot of shit yesterday for a lot. I recorded like 3 podcasts, and so I was just like watching things back to back. 2 of those things were The Boys episode 1 and 2, which Rachel and I talked about. That was fucking incredible. So everybody check that out, and check out The Girls on the Boys where we talk about it. But this was the last thing I watched, and this was just the perfect end of like this marathon of a whole bunch of random shit that I was watching. It's just like the money is raining down on the community.
Yes.
And because they have come out to support each other, they're rewarded for that too. It just feels it's so cathartic. Well, let's talk about Alice. Again, my Ray and Graf, I love her so much. My so-called life heads in the chat sound off because I know I'm not the only one who can teach Jordan Catalano to read. Okay, so I feel like we're trying to make an I don't see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. I feel like it feels like we kind of abandoned that halfway through. Like, it never totally lands the plane, but it's there. And I think kind of related to what we were just saying about the man, and also the fact that it is the man and the woman. Like, these are archetypes, these are symbols. I think it's interesting that the female child is the one who's able to perform sufficiently enough to not get kicked downstairs. It's always the boys who can't.
The boys,
who can't do. And I wonder if there's some kind of like, when little boys are babies, they are not like strong, manly men. And I wonder if there's like this kind of like dislike of just a child boy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to say feminization because it's not what it is. It's just they're not performing masculinity because they're too young. And I wonder if the man or the woman really is like, no, get them out of here, But we also have the woman say, "Not my little girl." And then the man says, "She's a whore," which is just like, that's what their dialogue is like. And I kind of love it. And then the man says, "Bad girls burn in hell." So the woman has this really interesting relationship with Alice where it feels like she loves her, she dotes on her, but she also hates her, and it's like this performance of motherhood. My little girl, she's wearing a white dress, she's precious, but she also hates her, and she tries to kill her at the end. So, Rachel, why do you think the woman hates Alice? Do you agree that she hates Alice? And why is she sending the boys down there?
I think she hates her. The thing is, like, I don't think either of them actually want to be parents.
No, I think they want the performance of parenting.
Yes, this is all just performative. This is what we do. This is what people like us do. But I do find that the fact that there's, I don't know how many of them, like 5, 6 boys in the basement.
Yeah, there's like so many. There were so many boys. Yeah.
It appears that she's the first girl that they've tried to raise, which I also think is fascinating because, you think about like royalty and history and all that. And of course, it was like, we want a boy, we want a son.
Yep.
You know,
Your heir
that's
and
how
your
the
spare.
legacy,
Yeah.
And
that's
these
how the
boys
heir is
seem
passed
older
down.
than her too. It feels like they snatched them first too.
Yeah, or like, yeah, just or try. Yeah, so it seems like they tried boys for a while because that would be the preferred, right, to pass down their family legacy, and that didn't work for whatever reason. And then they tried a girl, and so she's trying to be a mom, but not really. I think she just hates her because she doesn't actually want to be a mom.
Yeah.
She's going through the steps, but also telling her, yeah, don't see, don't say, don't. She doesn't care about her in any way, shape, or form. It's almost like she just wants her to like grow up and oh, gross. Do you think she wants her to have babies with daddy?
Okay, yeah, my whole thing
Well,
is
now I do.
I didn't think about that till just now.
that was where my mind went a little bit, honestly.
And maybe they sent the boys to the cellar because she didn't want to have babies with the boys.
Maybe. That's
I don't
some
know.
X shit, you know?
But also the boys would challenge whether or not they were outwardly actually doing that, like challenge daddy, right? At like a
Yes.
certain
At
point,
a certain point,
they would threaten his position of power. And as the man of the house, I don't think that would ever work. But
Yes.
Alice, if she grew up and be a woman, like, I think the woman has a way to still assert her power no matter how old Alice gets. Like, I think she's trying to like instill that really young. Ew, gross. I didn't even think about the fact that they might want Alice for that, or the
Ew.
boys for that matter.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Because, I mean, that would be easier than stealing babies, you know, if it's contained. I mean, I say easier logistically because it's contained within your own house and you would have total control over it.
Imagine
But
stealing babies
gross.
isn't easy. So, yeah, it'd probably be
Yeah.
easier than stealing babies. Yeah.
Well, Shelby, what do you think about the woman in Alice?
So, I really read that they weren't showing on screen, but there was a sexual aspect to the abuse. And so I don't know. I kind of read it as maybe there's like, I don't even want to say jealousy, but like, I don't think the woman likes that he has any sort of affection for Alice, even though affection is like not even a good word. Like that's not affection we would recognize, but it is to them, you know? Like there is something about it and it's kind of funny. It almost plays out the classically we were talking about Mommy Dearest. Like there are some mothers who like really hate their daughters. Like they're jealous of them. They see them as competition. Like if we've all seen it, we all know people who have gone through it or we've gone through it ourselves. And it's really like, it is a thing that happens. And we also have the classic, you know, especially with social media, like the boy mom, quote unquote, not just all women who are mothers of boys, but the hashtag boy mom who thinks that boys are superior to girls.
Sorry, I'm going to hurt my eyes if I keep rolling.
I know that was an exceptional role, by the way. Like, again, thank you for let's do it. I'm so glad we're doing video because
seriously.
that was a good role.
Sorry,
I almost stopped to like watch. Yeah. No, but like the boy mom thing, like that's what I kept thinking. I was like, oh, of course they tried boys first.
Yeah.
This woman seems like a boy mom. Like she seems like she'd be like, well, boys are easier. But I love what you said, Rachel. But you, Jen, like both of you, like the legacy thing. Like, of course they chose boys first. My brain I didn't even think about that. Like, of course you would choose a boy first because that's who takes over for the family. And again, they have this very Arrested Development ideal of what their ancestors have been doing. Squirrel, you know, so they're just sort of doing it half-assed, but like not half-assed on purpose, but just because they're crazy. And so it's like, well, we need a boy, and they might also need a girl because they're their brother and sister. Why not the next ones, you know? So, but then this girl does perform for them. She does try her best. Like she does when we meet Alice, she is like trying, even though she's like being a little rebellious by feeding the things in the walls and like giving them her fork. Mark. But yeah, I thought of it as she just does not like that Alice. There is a sort of affection for Alice, even if it is like violent. And like I said, I really read it as sexual. I could be wrong, but like I don't know. It was the taking off of the belt, the way it was just like geared, and then the gimp suit came out, and I was like, oh,
That's the thing.
Okay.
It's hard to get past that gimp suit. You know, it keeps
so
kind
hard
of
to get
rearing
past
its
The gimp
head.
suit in the room.
The gimp suit in the room. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I think the word I would use for her is internalized misogyny. The two words I think I would use. I just wrote about, because Jamie Blanks just died, and, you know, Urban Legend is like my ride or die movie. Fucking love it so much. We have an episode on it, listeners, so go back and check it out. Rachel, I think you were on that, right?
I was, yeah.
Yep, one of my favorite movies. And I also watched Valentine pretty recently too. And so I wrote about both of those movies as how kind of Jamie Blanks feels like he's kind of interrogating this internalized misogyny, because both have, not to spoil, but there is an element of villainous women in both of those movies. And I think, so it's just been on my mind a lot recently. And that's what I was seeing, because it's like she wants to like Alice when she is performing her role as a good little girl. You know, she's not being filthy. She's doing what she's supposed to do. She's doing what she's told. She's wearing a white dress. Her skin is scrubbed. And it's the woman who's leading all of that. And so but also the woman is so fucking masculine. Like you said, she is running the show. She's in control here. And so it's like this idea that she has to be this physical perfection of like June Cleaver-esque mommy dearest kind of vibe. She has to have that. She has to wear dresses. She can't actually run around with the gun. And I think there's a part of her that hates that, and that hates that the man gets to wear the gimp suit and she doesn't, you know, even though she wears the metaphorical gimp suit in the family, you know. And I think that is internalized misogyny. It's hating the limitations of women, even while you're upholding the limitations of women by supporting the patriarchy. And she focuses that on Alice, because Alice is who she is training, you know, and she's also training Alice to hate herself too, you know, to hate how weak she has to be. And it's just this disgusting cycle. And that's why I love that Alice becomes a lady killer at the end. Alice is the one that actually takes her out. And I have more thoughts about that and the woman's death, because we are a lady killer podcast. Let's talk about her a little bit more in our next category. Good for her.
Claiming she could take it no more, the young mother released the emergency brake, allowing her car to roll backwards into the nearby lake.
Good for her.
Okay, so I want to talk about the people under the stairs. Yes, I'm saying every time I say that,
We've been talking about that the whole time, Jen.
That's true. Well, I keep having Peter Griffin in my head, like, me too, that movie, you know. But it is interesting how they kind of serve as a symbol. You know, I thought as a kid watching these trailers, I thought they were the monsters, and I think you're supposed to. You're supposed to think that Roach is the villain here, but part of what is so cathartic is that they are the ones who actually get to, I thought they were going to kill her. I thought they were going to like rip her apart, and they kind of do, but it's really Alice who gets that knife.
Final blow.
Exactly. And it's not like, it's kind of an accident. She's holding the knife and the woman is being chased by the people and runs on it. But also Alice is the one holding the knife, which I do think is intentional, especially for Wes Craven, who will kind of define our modern understanding of final girls, you know, kind of taking those earlier archetypes and then reinventing them with more power in a lot of ways. And I say that with all the love to Sally and Laurie and, oh God, blanking on the Black Christmas lady. Jess.
Oh.
Sorry. Yeah. I love every final girl. No shade to any of them, but we see an evolution of them. So what I want to ask is, before this moment where Alice is the one to kill her, these people, like, the woman gets the prolonged death. She gets the really cathartic death in a lot of ways, because she is really killed by the people she has harmed. So, Rachel, why? Why is it her that gets the prolonged death scene here? Why is she the one that the people are taking out and get to take out, you know?
Yeah, that's interesting. I guess I didn't really consider that fully, but you're right. They're going after her versus, and you know, Daddy's tied up with some other things. But I think, like you said, she is the boss. Like,
Yeah.
she's the one kind of calling the shots. And I have to imagine if they were children at some point that she was doing the majority of quote unquote raising them. Granted, her way of mothering, as we've seen, is probably not ideal, but I'm sure they have their own separate set of feelings towards her in particular about, and like the choice, like who decided when they got thrown in the basement. I have a feeling it was her. Like, it seems like she was kind of in control of everything that the choice for them to be kept down there, the choice for them, like all of their suffering, I think ultimately was her decision. And, because of her, like at her hands in some ways. Obviously, I think Daddy was just one of her tools in her arsenal that she could kind of employ and pull out when she wanted, and kind of like sick him on them when she wanted to. But it does seem like, from what we've seen in the movie, it was always kind of her decision. Like, she's telling him when to come in and deal with Alice and go get them, like you were saying. So I think, yeah, they're gonna have some issues with her in particular. And it also wouldn't surprise me, based on the fact that she is a white woman, if she was the one too that, and who knows their memories, as we see, like Alice doesn't even know that they're not her parents, but like she was probably the one that kidnapped him in the first place.
Yeah, she probably would have had an easier time getting access than old Gimpsy there. Yeah. Shelby, what do you think?
I hadn't thought about it either, as like she got the prolonged death. But yeah, I think so too. I think that she would be the one to have been like, send the boy into the wall, it's time. And send him down that weird slide of stairs we've built for some reason. I wonder, like, when do you think that was built? Like, do you think that was like left over from the old days? Like, was it practical at one time for like moving grain, or was it always?
It was a funeral. It was a funeral.
It was a funeral
You're
home.
right.
Like the
yes.
I was a body shoot.
I was thinking Super Happy Fun Slide from The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror episode 4, where he's like, when am I going to be here again? And that's why he turns into the vampire. But yeah.
Oh my God. But yeah, I think that they, they heard her. She was the one who freaked out when she thought Alice was feeding them and was like, don't feed. Like, they've heard her say all these things. And at one point she says about Fool, she says, I'm going to do more than cut his ears off. And so she's the one who was administering, or maybe she was telling Daddy to do it, but she was the one deciding what gets cut off. Like, Roach's tongue got cut out. Of course, the see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil.
No evil, I think.
Yeah. I feel like, again, like, I think that got a little abandoned, but I think that was maybe a little more of the, like, the punishments, and I think she was the one like metering those out and metering what you got chopped off depending on what you were doing. And then you get sent into the wall with your oozing wound. I imagine they weren't like wrapping it up afterwards. So
no.
yeah.
Well, and if she's the one doing most of the child rearing, which she probably is, or at least like the more hands-on stuff, then she would have been the one who heard the offensive comment or saw the action, and maybe she didn't actually slice it, because Alice does say Daddy cut out the bad parts, I think, but I bet she did tell him what she heard and, probably exaggerated it too, Yeah, and I think it also, I agree with everything you're saying. And I think it also gives us two different types of catharsis here. Like, it's like the people under the stairs get their revenge, and then Fool gets a moment, because Fool is the one that gets to take out the man, and I think it's so interesting to look at this as kind of a subversion of like our standard horror tropes. And I think about Jason Takes Manhattan when I think about the big black guy who is felled by the character to prove how big the character is. And here it's the opposite. It's this little black kid who is so strong and tough that not only does he get to like have this fuck you, hasta la vista baby moment, but he takes out this gigantic man in like, if we're going by Craven's, probably what his intentions are, in the scariest possible iteration he could be in, this giant man clad in black leather.
And he outsmarted him and took out the dog too.
Like, exactly. He did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he ain't no fool, I would say, Okay. Well, let's talk about landlords. So, I I quoted Grandpa Booker here. Sorry, words just failed me. Started out as a family running a funeral home, selling cheap coffins for expensive prices. Then they got their fingers into real estate. And don't they always fucking get their fingers into real estate?
They really do.
Yep,
Yep.
that's been a common theme in Eat the Rich Month. Started making a lot of money taking over people's homes. The more money they got, the greedier they got. The greedier they got, the crazier they got. And then Ruby, who is Fool's sister, says, "My name is Ruby Williams, and I represent the association of people who have been unjustly evicted, exploited, and generally fucked over." And what I love is she slams the door on him, and then Grandpa is like, "It's the police. Open up." Like,
Yes.
that's how he gets back in. He's like, "We are going to finish what we had to say to you." Even though at this point, they probably know how dangerous she is. Like, I don't know exactly what Fool told them, but they know these are bad people, you know? So, what do we think, like, thematically, what is the message here? What is Craven saying about wealth hoarding, landlords, and community? Rachel, what do you think?
Okay, so I mean, I think he's saying a lot, but I also I found I have this book called The Black Guy Dies First, which I
Yes.
don't know if you guys have.
I do have it. I have not read the whole thing yet. Is that
Get that.
Robin R.
Yeah,
Means Coleman?
Robin R. Means Coleman and Mark H. Harris. So I did find some quotes because I wanted to see what they had to say about this specific movie. And like you said, 3 white women talking on a podcast about this. So I have some quotes here I would like to read about kind of their interpretation of this movie and the fact that it is Craven
amazing
directing this movie as a white man talking about these kind of things.
Yeah.
So they said, as he did with Elm Street, Craven sought to subvert the image of waspy suburban perfection, revealing the ugliness beneath the spotless veneer. They also said, labeled affirmative action horror by one reviewer, The People Under the Stairs makes it clear that race is a motivating factor for mommy and daddy who drop N-bombs like extras from a Tarantino movie. So I love that. They're greedy. I know, not wrong. Yeah. They're greedy slumlords living high on the hog in the suburbs while exploiting urban lower-class minorities, running liquor stores and unmaintained apartment buildings they hope to demolish and turn into condos for quote-unquote clean people. They hopped the white flight out of town as Reagan rewarded the black and brown citizens who stayed in the city by cutting social programs like Social Security, housing assistance, and food stamps while promoting trickle-down economics that benefited the rich. The hoarded treasure deep inside mommy and daddy's house, ill-gotten and inherited, is a tangible manifestation of the racial wealth gap that during the movie's climax ends up raining down into the hands of the needy when the home is blown to smithereens. And I liked what they have to say about Craven specifically here. They said, Craven's use of over-the-top satire could help excuse his portrayal of the inner city tenement whose residents, outside of Fool's family, are nearly as inhuman as the people under the stairs. Fool's trek up his own stairs to his apartment is like navigating Night of the Living baseheads with zombie-like dope fiends and feral dogs fighting over what is hopefully an animal carcass in the hallway. Even Fool's family is a tragedy of stereotypes, from the absentee father to his prostitute sister, which I missed that, I guess, but maybe that.
Yeah, Leroy says it at the beginning. He
Okay.
tells him your sister has been selling it on the streets. It's like a kind of
okay. So yeah, his prostitute sister who, quote, got babies, and her abusive criminal boyfriend. It's a shallow, broadly drawn portrait of urban life that's a reflection of the script being the brainchild of a white creative, even one as well-intentioned as Craven. So I like how they handle that, though. They're calling him out, but also like he's clearly his heart is in the right place, but he is a white man talking about things that he probably doesn't fully understand.
Yeah.
And But I think what he's saying is just how, I mean, a couple different things. The fact that they're hiding in plain sight, and the fact that they're locked down and it's all within their house. They're outwardly presenting. They know how to kind of pass in the world as upstanding citizens, clean cut, very conservative looking, but inside they're obviously total monsters.
Yeah.
And the thing about wealth hoarding, just how like it's just piles like of cash, like you were saying. It's not in a bank. They're doing some things, but they're not even using what they have, not even to like benefit themselves and like clean up their own surroundings.
Yeah.
But I think it's that idea that like, oh, you just want this because you don't want others to have it. And just the selfishness of that, and of landlords who are just will just do anything they can to kind of not have to support or, they'll just go to any length. We've all had landlords like that where it's like, I'm paying you all this money and my water heater go out. Like, this is like, come fix this is your job. You have one job. And like, why would you want me to suffer more than I have to, kind of thing? Why can't I not? I'm not speaking from any personal experience. Like, I just want to take a shower. Just come fix the water heater. It's your water heater. That's the deal. But I also like at the end what he has to say about community and the fact that these people don't have one. Like, they don't have a community. They have no idea or sense of community. So, and like ultimately, like at the end, like with all the money, it's like the people aren't even fighting over the money. Like, they're grabbing it. Of course, it's fallen from the sky. But I like that it's like they're not fighting over it because they're all there to support each other. And also the power that has. And it also, not that it makes you have pity for mommy and daddy, but it's like you have all this other stuff. But what do you really have if you don't have family, friends, and community? Like, kind of making you look at like what's actually important, because at the end of the day, it's the community that comes in and is able to save, Fool and Alice and, these poor young men trapped in the basement and everything. So I think that's, his heart is totally in the right place. But I do think there's some things about this that haven't necessarily aged really well, that feel a little like, okay, I see what you're doing here. But I don't hold it against him by any way. Like, I'd rather like his heart's in the right place.
I think, it's been a while since I've seen The Serpent and the Rainbow, but that is that has a lot of Black characters in it also. And I'm thinking about Scream 2, where he is kind of confronting this idea that the slasher genre is overwhelmingly white. And, even the horror genre, I think it's just, and yes, I agree. We're not coming down on Wes Craven, but it is important to talk about when we don't get it right, because when we know better, we do better. And I think there are some things in this movie that have aged really well when we're talking about wealth hoarding and landlords. And I also want to mention that Robin Armeens Coleman also wrote horror noir, and she's kind of the leading voice, or she really started this movement of really looking at horror through an analytical, academic lens too, and both of those books are fantastic.
Yeah, she's written a lot of books. Yeah, that sound fascinating. Yeah.
And I think she's done a lot of work with Jordan Peele also. Like, I think I think she's a teacher from, or at least she was
Northwestern.
Oh yeah. So yeah, great books if you haven't read them, and buy them and support her too.
Yes.
Shelby, what do you think about this?
I mean, again, like, I feel like everything that we've said it so much throughout all of this. I feel like, the beauty is in the end. We needed that cathartic ending. It was a very earned ending of the money being redistributed as it should be, and, little Fool almost acting like a Robin Hood of sorts, like, in a way, and just defeating the monster and the monster who it turns out is not the monsters you thought they were, and the bad guy, and working together with these I almost said creatures, but they're not creatures, they're people, these boys who he trusted them. He ended up trusting them, and that's how he found the vault. And it was, it was him just like being like, hey, like reaching out a helping hand and being like, you're also a person in my neighborhood. How can I help you too? And how, like, you can help me and I'll help you. And I think it's a beautiful ending. And, like we said, some stuff did not age well. Pointing out that beginning was actually really fascinating. I need to read that book so bad. Because the beginning was shocking. And while we can say it was, I'm sure the intention was Wes Craven setting up how bad mommy and daddy are, because that's how he was letting them live. It is still, insinuating, well, these people were living like this, and this is how,
a little bit of tragedy porn.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I really, I feel like the message, while it's layered in incest and gimp suits, I feel like the message still holds up all these years later. I really do, especially like we said right now. Like, I mean, look at this time we're in of finger pointing and gas prices and grocery prices and rent and everything, and it's unfortunately, it's all still happening on the same scale. It's like, it's one of those movies where you wish you could be like, man, looking back, so crazy how stuff was, huh? Well, good thing
Yeah.
it's, it's like,
It reminds me a podcast I'm sure you can't possibly figure out, but they were talking about all the things that you could do with $200 billion. Instead, what are other alternatives of what you could do with that? And they were listing it off, and it really was like, Jesus Christ, like that's crazy.
It's like feed all hungry children for 10 years.
Yeah, or like
stuff
fund
like
this
that.
thing
Fund
for
childcare
so
for
long for everybody.
Yeah.
Like it was just crazy.
Yeah.
They were listing it off, like all the different things that you could do with this amount of money. And I think that's also something he's kind of saying in this last moment is, these people, they're just locking this money up, throwing it on the ground. Like they don't even care about it downstairs in their vault, right? But then when it, like you said, it's redistributed to the community, and all of those people are going to, that can make a huge difference to all of them in different ways, shapes, and form. And it's like they weren't, it's like it's just sitting there and they don't even care about it, or they're not using it. They don't seem to care. They don't respect it. They're literally crumbling it up and throwing it on the ground, keeping it next to these poor people that they have trapped in the basement.
Yeah.
Like insane to see that juxtaposition of those two things right next to each other. And and then to see it getting like thrown out in all of these different people. And that was just like a small little bit of what they had and how far that can go. And I think that is actually, it's very on the nose, obviously, but it still works. And I still think it's like a really powerful message. Like you said, even today, it still works.
Well, and I think, we do have that beginning that feels uncomfortable, but we also have a Black protagonist here who feels very human. He feels like a real character. He feels like the most important character in a lot of ways, and the most human in all of these like archetypal roles, And I think when I think about landlords and wealth hoarding, like there was a time when Corey and I were thinking about when we were going to buy another house, and we were thinking about holding on to our old one and using it as a rental property because, I would just used to watch one of those home shows,
Yeah.
Oh, I can't even think of what the channel is because it's been so long. But HGTV, yes, like because it would be passive income, and Corey was like, yeah, it kind of is, but you have to, like, it's your property, you have to maintain it. And I think that just led me to this concept of ownership and owning the land, because that is what gives you ultimate control. And the US has this horrific history of not letting Black people own buy homes. There were so many laws about where you could buy homes if you were Black or a non-white person. And that is to keep people from building wealth. That is the reason. That's one of the reasons we have such a large wealth gap right now, is because people of, non-white people or people from, undesirable or other communities have been strategically kept from building wealth, accumulating generational wealth, and white people have been able to do it. And that's how we get fucking billionaires. And like we've talked about in other episodes, you don't need that much money. Like you were saying, it's dumped on the fucking floor. And if that's not what these billionaires today are doing with their like third yacht, or shooting their girlfriend up into space, for what reason? Like, we're just setting money on fire.
And people don't understand how much money is. Like,
yes,
our human brains do have like this limitation of like not really understanding the scope of something of that scale. And that's what works for billionaires, because people really don't. I mean, that whole term, that saying of like, a lot of like lower middle class people who vote against their own interests because they think they're like temporarily embarrassed millionaires. They don't think of themselves as
they think they're going to get
on the same level as their peers. I mean, a great example of weirdly this movie was the current story of that woman. I forgot where it was, where she had immigrants build her roof and immediately called ICE so she wouldn't have to pay them. And like, I was thinking about that story through this whole movie just because I was like, I don't know, there was something about it that felt samey to me. And like,
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, she ended up getting arrested because that's
good.
That she didn't realize that's illegal. And it's just this, I don't know. I feel like he really took the gross factor of how gross wealth hoarders are and just gave it such a face. And that face was the mask of a gimp suit.
Yeah. And in that way, I love how over the top it is. You know, like it's not subtle at all. I love, and this is also in 1991. I think there are a lot of directors that wouldn't have
Do you
taken
know this was inspired by a true story?
Oh.
That's in
Please
the book
tell us
too. Here,
now.
I'll read this part. Okay, so yeah, it says Craven drew the plot from a news article about police responding to a report of suspicious black men breaking into a home in the overwhelmingly white beach town of Santa Monica, California, only to find that the owners had been holding their own children captive there for years. And Craven saw this, and so this is kind of what gave him this idea that he wanted to do this. In his quote, he says, "Everybody feeling that the black people breaking into the house was the worst thing imaginable. And there you have this middle-class perfect family with a terrible secret." So it's also that idea of like this, oh my God, this is a crime. But then, you can't look at yourself, right? It's that idea. It's like, wait, what are you talking? The outrage about something, and then you're like turn around and you're like, what the fuck? That's fine, but you have an issue with that. And they called the cops.
Like they've like deluded themselves into being like, we are not we aren't bad.
No, we're not bad. They're bad.
They're bad.
Exactly.
Well,
and why is that?
us.
Because they have the perception or the appearance of a criminal.
Well, and they get away with it, right? Like in this movie, we see them like talking to the cops and like, it's fine. We'll just say and do it and look the right way and do all the right things. And nobody's going to like have an issue with it. And we can talk our way out of it.
It's like he opens the door and there's a whole like closet full of guns. He like forgot his handcuffs and his gimp suit. And then he takes his hat off to scratch where that big bloody bandage is.
The cops point out that they have padlocked screens on their windows, and she goes, well, sometimes it feels like we're the prisoners because of all the whatever that are, and the cops like, yeah.
Well, and it's because we criminalize other communities here, because that's another way that white people maintain their power, Is this good for her horror? Shelby, what do you think?
I mean, I'm glad Alice got out at the end. Like it is, and like, the community, there were a lot of like Fool's sister and everything. I mean, it really does set up in the beginning, painting a picture of what she's been having to go through to keep a roof over their heads. And mom now gets to have surgery. When we look at all the women in the movie, they really do find they get their happy ending, happy-ish. I mean, it's interesting because all the women in the movie, they don't have the type of happy ending where you get to start from scratch. I mean, Alice is going to have years of trauma. Fool's sister as well. I mean, and Fool's mother is going to have to go through these extensive surgeries that, and so it's really interesting that the women, it feels very realistic, even though it's such an over the top movie of like, yes, good for her. They killed the bad guy. And now the work starts,
Yes. Yeah. So, now we can do something about the problems that haven't been solved yet.
Exactly. So yeah, I think it is in a very realistic way that's not so weirdly not so like you said, Jen, like the involvement of the final girl, like the evolution of the final girl, because it does feel like, okay, yeah, this is actually a little more of what would happen at the end of the slasher movie,
Yeah, it almost feels like good for, like, I'm not going to call him a final boy because that's not what this is. That's not just, and I famously get up on my high horse when people misappropriate final girl name, but it feels like good for him, or good for them,
Good for them.
Yeah. Rachel, what do you think?
No, I think this is good for them. And like, even if we're looking at Alice specifically, like you said, it's kind of like Sally riding away in the truck.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where it's like good for her, but also like, oh girl, I'm worried.
Who knows what kind of therapy you're going to have.
No, exactly. It's like, they made it out, but this is just the beginning. Like money can only solve so many things. And like, granted, that will for sure, like, priority number, they don't have a place to live, and like that can help, and that can help their mom and everything. So like, great, but it's not like, oh, all our worries are over now. I have these 5 gold coins, nothing to worry about, so I it's good for them though. And for Alice specifically, I think it's mostly good for her because number one, she knows the truth. These aren't her parents. There's something else. And she does, like, her and Fool become friends. It's so cute. Like when they like hold hands and they're like excited to see each other. And then ultimately I mean, she tells her to burn in hell and she gets her voice. And it's like she's able to conquer her fear over these people who have been abusing her ruthlessly for years, for a decade plus. She's supposed to be 12. Like, how long have they had her? This is horrifying. So it's good for her in that moment. I like to think that she and Fool are just like best friends forever, and she ends up living with them. But like, I'm a little worried about what's going to happen to her next. But, ultimately good for her. I feel like this is the best case scenario for her in this particular situation.
I wonder if she would inherit the house,
She is their daughter.
Do you think they were smart enough to have a will?
Have a will. I don't know.
And if it
part
was
of
her,
me thinks yes,
I'd burn
and part
it
of me
down,
thinks,
bulldoze it.
get all that money out first,
or sell
and then,
the property.
Yeah.
Like, get out of here. I guess it did burn down. It blew up.
It
What am I
did. That's
talking
It did
true.
blow up.
Yes.
That's true. Yeah.
Collect that insurance money, baby.
right off into the sunset, But yeah, I love how it's just such a happy ending, even though, like you said, the problems haven't been solved. It's the promise of now we have resources. Now this is not being, and these predators are out of our community, and it's because the community supported each other. Like whenever I watch like newish movies or movies I'm not super familiar with, my questions evolve throughout. And I had so many questions about like, why does Fool go back for Alice? Why does Alice not leave? Why? And I think I ultimately changed some of them because I think a lot of that is just obvious. They care about each other. They see themselves in each other. There's one moment where Alice says, sometimes in is the way out, and I think that we can look at that through like a community lens. Like sometimes it is by investing in people in your community or people in other communities too, because like you said, it's because he accepts help from Roach. It's because he chooses not to be afraid of this person who scares him anymore. That's why he's able to get out of the house, and that's why the community is able to come together. And I think that's the end. And getting out is just getting out from under these oppressive predator tyrants, and that feels really good for her because, I think the woman is in control here, but she's supporting the patriarchy. And so anytime we are dismantling a patriarchal force in a community, then I think that's good for her too. But it's like non-traditional good for her. It's kind of, it feels like a little left of the dial, which I like too. But would we die for the movie? Let's find out in our next category, Die For Me.
Look at her. I would die for her. I would kill for her. Either way, what bliss.
And this is when we give our final thoughts and decide will we die for her. I don't think I would have died for this movie before we started this conversation, but I think, and there are pieces of this movie that I do not enjoy. I still don't think this is going to be a rewatcher for me, but I've kind of grown to begrudgingly love that gimp suit. Like it's so weird that you're like, well, we got to talk about this,
Yeah.
And I think there are just so many layers to this movie that I kind of saw, but I really like being able to like unpack them and verbalize. And I like that it exists in 1991 too. I think it's because of movies like this. This is not nearly as good as Candyman, because Candyman is in many ways a perfect movie, and we will talk about that at some point. But I think because movies like this and Candyman exist, that's why we have creators like Jordan Peele now who are really pushing this other narratives forward, and kind of challenging the way we have been telling stories and really centering whiteness in it, So yes, I'm going to die for this movie, although who knows when I'll watch it next, Rachel, what do you think? You're going to die for this movie?
Yeah, this is like a soft die for this movie kind of thing. Similarly, like, is this my favorite movie ever? No. Is it my favorite Craven film
That's
ever?
a high bar too.
No, it's not. But here's the thing. Again, like I do find it a fascinating film. I'm so glad it exists. I love what it's doing, and I do think it's an interesting touchstone and kind of like bridging some interesting gaps, which does give it a weird tone, and it does some weird things, and there's some interesting choices in it. But I like that, and especially looking at it just as like a piece of Craven's filmography, it just kind of shows what range And it tells us so much about him as a person, the things that he was interested in and fascinated in. And especially like, as we see, I mean, especially later in his career, how he kind of wanted to diversify in terms of like what types of material he was doing. There was a lot of times where he's like, I don't want to do horror anymore. So it's like he was very thoughtful about the choices he made and the films that he made. And it was always something like he talks a lot about that and just like women being, you know, exploited in horror films and stuff and how icky he kind of felt about that. And so for him to pick something, I think it does carry a lot of weight and tells us a lot about him too. So of course I'm going to die for it in that respect too, because I mean, what a treasure of a human, you know, and just kind of highlights the importance of, okay, yeah, you might not always get it 100% right, but that shouldn't stop you from trying to do something.
Yeah.
You know, to say or do something or contribute what you can or to get involved in the ways that you can and use the tools that you have at your disposal, that kind of thing. And yeah, and this, you know, Fool is such a cute kid character. Like you said, we've seen so many worse portrayals of children in horror movie that I would like I love Fool. I love this performance and this character, just the sweetest, cutest kid and like really capable and he does so great. So for that I will die for him as well. And yeah, the Gimps, it's memorable. It's memorable for sure.
It is certainly something. Yes. Shelby, are you going to die for the people under the stairs?
Yeah, and like Rachel said, I think I'm softly dying. I don't know how I would do that, but I'm softly dying for it.
We're killing ourselves softly.
We're killing ourselves. I'm going to my fainting couch. Yeah. And slowly passing away like Ophelia in a pool of flowers. I I'm with you, Jen. I don't think it'll be a rewatcher. I mean, maybe not never say never, but like
That's
it's
true.
not, you know, but I don't think it's something I would gravitate towards again. But
Yeah,
the fact that this was made in 1991, the message that it had that I didn't go into it knowing it was going to have, just really going into it being like there's monsters under the stairs. I don't know, you know? And it did get me. And it does have that Goonies feel. I mean, and the Home Alone, he literally electrocutes the doorknob. It's so,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
and they have a chain of electrocution where with the dog, like it's wacky. And I know it's supposed to be kind of a comedy. So like the goofy moments, you know, I think that's what I didn't love is some of the goofier moments, just because I do feel like, again, like we talked about, like it's not my favorite Craven because it did feel a little rocky. It felt like it didn't find its footing a lot of times. But overall, it was like the ending was very satisfying. And being able to discuss it in the way that we have, it's really turned me around to like, okay, yeah, I think I would die for this movie.
Yeah, I think my favorite moment, not my favorite moment, but I loved the moment where they first are trying to evade Prince and Fool says, "Your mother sleeps with cats."
Yeah, that was so cute.
Such a Goonies moment. I love it so much. So, all right. And on that note, let's wrap up with what's coming next.
Unlock the next configuration. And then the last. No. I've done enough. Enough is a myth.
If you want to follow the show, you can do that on Twitter at The Lady K Pod and on Instagram and Blue Sky at The Lady Killers Pod. You can find me at Jim Ferratu. I have mentioned the Losers Club. I've mentioned the Girls on the Boys. Check that out. We're back, baby, and we got a lot to say, and you know, some overlap with some of these conversations also. And then you can find me on Murder Made Fiction. We're talking about whistleblowers. So again, this collective versus the singular person or the community and who's looking out for them. And you know, I try to post the stuff I write. Sometimes I forget, but you can find my writing at Bloody Disgusting now too. That piece on Jamie Blanks is up now. And Shelby, where can listeners find you?
You can find me on the Bloody Disgusting podcast every week, and you can find me on the Scare You to Sleep podcast every week. They're both very different, and they're both very different from this show. So there's lots of different flavors of me out there. Whatever you like, take your pick. Yeah, and you can follow me at Shelby B. Novak on Instagram.
And Rachel, where can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram and Letterboxd at the Vinyl Girl, GRRRL, 3 R's.
Every time I see it, my brain reads it like grrr.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So I was like,
Girl.
it's like my Riot Girl
Yes.
nod there.
Mhm.
Also on Halloweenies, we mentioned Hellraiser early in the pod, and that's great because we're talking about Hellraiser 3. We're going down. It feels like Dante's Inferno. Like every time we're going to be like descending into another layer of hell. And this month, Hellraiser 3. Also going to be talking about The Omen 3. So just all things devil-ish and delightful over there on Halloweenies.
The good thing about Hellraiser is there's always a hot guy in the movie, so.
That's true.
And some of them are some of my favorite. Like Adam Scott is in a Hellraiser movie, so, it's not a good one.
Oh, also, I also just talked with Mac over on Halloweenies for his little side quest sci-fi pod that he's doing for the Patreon. We just talked about Star Trek First Contact, which also has Adam Scott in it for a brief
What?
So
I gotta
there
watch
you go.
that. My all-time dream crush. Yes, I would.
Well, he's in it very briefly, so don't get your hopes up.
Well, yeah, that's like when
he goes down with the ship.
I hunted down like every Eric Stoltz movie I could find, even if he was in it for like 2 seconds, and I watched a lot of weird shit. So so I'll do it. I'll do it.
You can do worse than Star Trek First Contact.
That's true. Yes, and that's it. Wait, is that the one with the Borg? The Borg Queen?
Yeah, played by Alice Krieg.
Yes, I just wrote about her. It's because, Alice Krieg's villainous characters. Okay, we could cover it. So maybe because of Adam Scott and Alice Krieg,
Let's do it.
Here we go. It'll be my first Star Trek movie also. So.
Well, okay, that was wow. We got to save this conversation.
4-hour episode. Yeah.
Seriously. A 4-hour. And that is our episode on the people under the stairs. Thank you so much to my esteemed panel and listeners. Thank you for joining us. If you liked this episode, please give us a quick rate and review on Apple Podcasts. You can review us on Spotify, I believe, too.
Yes.
I don't really know how it works.
You can comment.
But you can also comment. Yes, we are having so much fun. Talk to me about my so-called life, please. I love it. We are going to be back next week. Eat the Rich Month continues, and we are talking about Society, which
very excited.
I have never seen. So
oh, girl.
Oh,
very
Jen.
excited.
Oh, Jen.
I've heard stories, but I'm going to go in. I'm going to go in as blind as I can get. So,
Jen, this is going to be on levels with Repo, I got to say.
Well, I can't wait.
But I didn't pick it, so this time.
No, that's true.
So.
I'm not exactly sure who picked this one.
It might be me and
Was
Sammy,
it Rachel?
But I'm very excited.
I
cannot wait. I mean, with a title like Society, I'm going to have some shit to say,
You're going to have some shit to say.
Jen, I can't wait.
I'm so excited. So listeners, tune in to see what I'm getting myself into. And until then, remember, ladies and ladies, support women's rights, support women's wrongs, and your mother sleeps with cats, motherfucker.